My name is Rabbi Schonbuch. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist based here in New York and around the world via Skype. We're now dealing with the question of internet addiction and how to overcome it. This is the fourth video in the series. And today I wanted to discuss, where does addictive thinking actually come from? And I like to source one of the most significant sources for information on addiction in the Orthodox Jewish community. And that is none other than Rabbi Dr. Avraham Tursky. Rabbi Tursky wrote a fantastic book called Addictive Thinking. And in his book, he asks this question, where indeed does addictive thinking come from? He believes it comes from early childhood and growing up perhaps in a dysfunctional family, or even in a more functional family when we developed a low sense of self-esteem about ourselves. He brings this incredible example. Let's say somebody grew up with a parent who was harsh and neglectful and even abusive. And that parent would yell at the child. The parent would scream at the child. For example, one day the child is sitting at the table with his parents and he accidentally spills the milk. The father gets up and says, "You rotten child, how dare you make such a mess in this house," and smacks the kid in the face. Imagine how that little child feels. Rabbi Tursky asks this question. Who does a child think is bad? The parent who he idealizes, the parent who he believes is like God in the world, who takes care of him, who nurtures him, who protects him, who gives him a home and food to eat? It's not true. The child believes that he himself is bad. Ladies and gentlemen, that abused child, that neglected child does not believe his caretakers are bad. He believes there's something wrong with himself. He develops what Rabbi Tursky believes is addictive thinking very early on in life. He develops something called low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is so powerful. I once met a young man who was tall, handsome, capable, very wealthy, had people running after him. Everybody was interested in him. But I asked him how he felt about himself. You know what he told me? He told me he felt he was ugly. He told me he felt people looked at him and laughed at him. He actually, although he was a multimillionaire, he believed deep down inside he was a miserable failure. I asked him, where did it come from? He told me the story of how his father used to hit him and smack him and abuse his siblings. For years this went on in his home. He grew up believing, on the one hand, people were saying, boy, you're so successful. And then there, deep down inside, he thought he was lying. He thought he was a faker. He thought he was false. Deep down inside, he couldn't stand himself. He therefore couldn't get close to people and eventually developed a terrible internet addiction. Friends, Rabbi Tursky is telling us a very, very deep thing. Addictive thinking comes from deep, deep within ourselves. It begins most likely during childhood. It forms what we call a low self-esteem. And a person then reaches out for the internet or any form of drugs or alcohol. He reaches out for that to soothe that deep, deep pain inside, right? He watches the internet because it brings him enjoyment, but he gets addicted to the internet because it really ultimately makes him numb to the feelings he's sensing inside about himself. So many people out there are suffering addictions, and for that matter, internet and cell phone addictions, primarily because they simply feel bad about themselves. But I want to just tell you a very beautiful thing. I want you to think about yourself as a diamond in the ground. You know, when you take a diamond out of the earth, it's black on the outside. It doesn't look very pretty. It doesn't come looking like the beautiful rings you buy in a store. It looks like a dark, blemished, and ugly rock. All you have to do is begin to polish off some of that dirt off the surface, and you start seeing this beautiful diamond emerging from within. Friends, every Jew is like a precious diamond that's taken from the earth. And unfortunately, if you formed an addiction or internet addiction, you're that same precious diamond. It's just blackened over by pain, by abuse, by neglect. And I'm asking you to look deep inside yourselves and understand you all have this precious soul within you, this precious neshama. That's the diamond. It's been covered over by abuse, by neglect, by difficult times. But it's time to start taking off that dirt, start polishing off that diamond. Start looking for all those good points within you. And the more you focus on your good points, the more you start building up your self-esteem to see how beautiful you are, your talents, your ability, your care, your love for others, your love for God, your love for other people. You'll start seeing some of that dirt come off your diamond. That is the beginning point of overcoming your addiction. Improving your self-esteem is the first step towards fighting internet addiction. Welcome to this new series in Hidabrut called Marriage Matters. My name is Rabbi Schonbuch, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist based in New York and around the world via Skype. On this important series, I will be answering your questions you have about marriage, relationships, dating, parenting, and about any issue dealing with family and relationships. But more than what I have to say, I want to hear what you have to say. So please email to this address and send in your questions, and I'll try to answer as many questions on this new show.